Good morning, and welcome to the April 14th, 2021 edition of Community and Public Services Committee. I will just jump right into roll call. Councilor Zadek.
I'm here, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Councilor Nickel.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to hear your voice. Councilor Knack.
Good morning.
And good morning to you. And I am here as well. So all the members of the committee are here. It looks like we're joined by a few other councilors today. And let me just pull them up. I see we've got Councilor Henderson. Good morning.
Morning.
And I believe I saw, yeah, there he is, Councilor Banga. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we also have on board Councilor Hamilton. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. That's great. Good to have you here. So we will now move to adoption of the agenda. And if anyone would like to move the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Please vote on the adoption of the agenda. And as I say that, I realize I haven't even opened up my e-scribe yet. So I am a verbal yes.
We have all the votes.
Please display the votes. And that is carried. Okay, so I hope everyone has had the opportunity to read the minutes for the past two meetings, and I'm hoping I can get a motion to adopt minutes.
Yes, happy to move the adoption of the minutes from the March 17th and 26th City Council Community and Public Services Committee non-regular meeting, and the March 24th, 2021 Community and Public Services Committee.
Okay. Any debate? Hearing any? Please vote. And again, as I continue to sign in, I am a verbal yes.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that has carried. All right. At this point, I was not made aware of any protocol items, but I will respectfully acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people, as well as well, we'll leave it at that. As treaty people, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, we share the responsibility for stewardship of this beautiful land and for each other. All right, so now it is time for items for discussion, and so we will now select items for debate. If anyone is on the board or would like to just jump in.
Sure, Mr. Chair. I can't click on e-scribe right now. It's not activated, so I can jump in.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. A quick question. I'll have a quick question on item 5.1. Councilor Hamilton has asked to grab for a quick question on 5.2. Very quick question on 6.2 and 6.3.
Okay, and 6.3. Okay, any other takers? I will select item 6.4. And otherwise, everything else will move forward. Okay, if that's everything, please vote on the selected items.
Councilor Kettle, move the balance of the items.
Yeah, thank you. An important step. Moved by Councilor Nickel, please vote on the balance. I am a verbal yes, as I have to sign in, but I only have two hands.
Yes.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that is carried unanimously. Okay, so moving on. We do have a couple of requests to speak.
Been passed.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, would you like to please read back what we have just voted on?
Thank you. This morning, committee has passed the following items without debate. Item 6.1, Edmonton Public School Board Pool Operation Cost Sharing, and item 9.1, Naming Rights Agreement.
Okay, thank you very much. And we do have some requests to speak. So I will move that Community and Public Services Committee hear from the following speakers on item 6.3. Expanded uses of Horlick Park Lake. 1, Stephen Bordeaux, and 2, Sheila O'Kelly, both both from World Triathlon. 1 from the World Triathlon Series of Edmonton, and Sheila from ITU World Triathlon Edmonton. So if there's no debate, please vote on hearing from these speakers. I am a verbal yes.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that is unanimously carried. Okay, we have no requests for time specific on the agenda. And I was not made aware of any councillor inquiries, but if there are any, now's the time. Okay, and we have already dealt with everything else. Okay. So moving on, we're now on item 5.1. And I don't know if there's a presentation from administration on this, or if Councilor Knack, you'd like to just move straight to questions.
Yep, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe to you, Mr. Smythe, or whoever else you would want to answer. The question I have, I just want to make sure I've fully understanding our approach to this report. So sort of my intent when I made the motion was along the lines of, this is sort of how I'd phrase it. If we wanted to let the local community and Active Communities Alberta get to build this as soon as possible, recognizing safety is of course paramount. We're not going to compromise anything like that. So in my mind, it's like, okay, so if we want to do that, here are the steps we need to do to make this happen as soon as possible. So again, appreciate that safety is going to be paramount, that there might be a few technical pieces, but the feedback I received from the meeting that occurred a couple of weeks ago is that members of the community felt like the meeting was very much around, here's all the reasons why we're not going to be able to support this, versus these are challenges that exist. Here's a policy from 2006 that says we wouldn't allow an outdoor covered structure for some reason. Just so you know, that would have to be addressed. Council would have to override that or make an exception to that. So I want to get your take, because when I have the residents of the community feeling a little bit different, I want to get your take as to your approach on this.
Councillor, I mean, I hear you. Certainly, I got a bit of feedback from that meeting as well in terms of what the options might be. I know that particular parcel, there may be other parcels that could be in play, but just the timing to work with community. And I know that the concern in terms of what all the obstacles, but we can revisit that. I know Mr. Jevney is also on the call. Roger, do you want to weigh in a little bit on the results of that workshop?
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Councilor Knack. We did meet with the community, as you know. The district park site where the rec center is planned does pose some challenges to move quickly. It would mean, elements would have to be deleted from the current approved program, some grading, utility issues. So the site really isn't in a point to move quickly. The groups asked us to look at the neighborhood park site, which we did, and started that process. So that was the reason for the delay in the report, was to give us time to look at the neighborhood park, to see what the process would be to consider shifting it to that site, and what the level of support from the community would be, and the alignment with policy and funding programs and all the rest of it. But certainly looking at the two sites, and we'll bring back that report in May.
And just
Okay,
further to
so-
that, Councillor, we can certainly list out the challenges or obstacles with both sites, so that council can overrule or make a determination as to, we may make a recommendation, but obviously it would be a council decision.
Yeah, so appreciate that. I guess the question I want to make sure I've asked clearly is, and I should note, I agree, the community has flagged that they probably would make the neighborhood park site. That's a preferred site in this. So let's assume that for a moment. My question is are we as a city approaching this item as, here's community partners willing to try to make something unique happen. We're going to go out of our way to make this possible, versus here's something that's unique, that's out of the ordinary. We're going to find a lot of ways to slow this down or prevent the community members from proceeding with this. Because I know what our approach should be. I think I know what we want to do. I just want to relay feedback that it very much was not interpreted that way from the community residents.
Okay, so we're certainly looking for innovative ways to build this kind of infrastructure. There are some challenges on the neighborhood site. Policy challenges. It also eliminates some sports fields that would be required for the school on the site. So there are some process things we do want to follow through. But we are trying to find a way to move these innovative solutions forward, these community-driven projects, in a way to see them happen. But we want to make sure we've followed a good process, so we're happy with the results in the end, and don't have some anticipated challenges that turn out to be negative for the neighborhood.
Absolutely, and we'd be checking with the school board as well in terms of likelihood of them ever actually building a school in the near future, considering the lack of any provincial money or the lack of it being identified as a priority, right? Like that's part of what we would do. Okay.
Yeah, we checked certainly with the school board and with the community about the loss of the sports fields and the benefits of a covered rink versus the open space in the sports field.
Okay, great. I'm probably well out of 5 minutes. I think the time multiplied. So that's all I had for questions. I'll move the revised due date. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Knack. Okay, so that has been moved. Please vote.
We have all the votes.
Okay, please display the vote. And that is unanimously in the positive and has passed. Okay, so moving on, we have a question on 5.2 from Councilor Hamilton, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Councilor Hamilton, go ahead.
Thank you. So I understand that this report was delayed to seek more input from stakeholders. Is that correct, Mr. Smythe?
That's partly correct, yes. We also had a resourcing issue in terms of getting staff, prioritized. During COVID, we were challenged on that front. So we're under the consultations currently to move this forward.
Great. And I was just curious, because I was approached by some groups who are interested in providing input. What is what stakeholders are you engaging with on this issue?
I know Jackie Ford is on the call. Jackie, do you have any level of detail?
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Councillor. No, at this point, I do not have a list of who has been consulted. ARAC is guiding this file. If you'd like, Councillor, you could send those names to us, and we could see if they're on the list or they're not on the list, and if they're not, we'd be happy to add them.
All right. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So that's all my questions, Councillor Paquette. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Would anyone like to move item 5.2? If not, I'm happy to do it. Moved item 5.2, so go ahead and if there's no debate, please vote.
Yes. Oh, here it is.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that is carried. Thank you. And thank you for your question, Councillor Hamilton. Moving on, we've got item 6.2, stakeholder engagement, progress report for senior centers. I'm not sure if there's any brief remarks from administration.
I don't need a presentation, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to raise questions.
Okay, moving straight to questions, Councillor Knack.
Sure.
Unless anyone else has a presentation. Should just double check out of courtesy. No, not seeing it. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Knack.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and it almost feels anticlimactic since we had to postpone this. It wasn't meant to be postponed for anything major other than we didn't have time to finish things up. So fairly quickly, I guess what I wanted to ask, my understanding, and I've sat in on a couple of meetings, but I just want to get everyone else's take. The engagement process that's happening around this work, we're tapping into the expertise of the Age-Friendly Edmonton Leadership Table to help inform this work. Correct? Like we see that table as being able to provide a lot of value and helping inform some of what's next.
Councillor, we have Jackie Ford and Sheila Hallett. Sheila is the Executive Director of the Seniors Coordinating Council on the call. And I don't know, Jackie or Sheila, can you jump in on that question?
I think Sheila would be the best one to answer this one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. Yes, absolutely. We see Age-Friendly Edmonton as a real mechanism to support the full picture of healthy aging and being able to tap into that community group's members in figuring out ways to address some of the challenges that we have seen, especially during the pandemic, the coordinated response. We see them as a integral part of moving forward.
Perfect. And so I think one of the questions that often comes up when I'm chatting with different organizations is, I think, and I think that's part of the work that this is doing here, is that we've been fairly structured in how we've approached any city funding to organizations. Primarily, you run a fixed building, and we're providing you funding. Meanwhile, we've got organizations and groups that maybe don't have a fixed building and have been serving seniors, or we've got smaller groups and really small buildings that maybe feel like there's a fear that somehow they're going to be pushed out in any new model of work that we do. And I just wanted to, because I've had conversations with everyone here, it feels like there's still an odd disconnect in that I've never heard from yourself, Ms. Hallett, Ms. Ford, any desire to, stop supporting smaller centers or anything like that in favor of a big center. It's just making sure we're properly allocating resources and maybe introducing groups that haven't had a building and have been serving seniors for decades to maybe introduce some funding to them as well, correct?
Hi, Councillor Knack. It's Judy Smith. I'll take that that one. Good morning. We realize that, and we're looking at doing part of the next steps of our work around seniors is taking a look at our senior center investment programming to reimagine that grant program. And that is one of the things we want to see moving forward, that we're about senior services versus senior centers. So we want to put the senior in the center and figure out that process along with the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council around how we do that best, so that those small emerging little groups that are doing great things in their neighborhood have access to funds, as well as taking into consideration that our operating grant has helped support and helped our senior centers be able to do the services they do as well. So it's that balance that we're going to have to figure out moving forward.
And this might help inform because, we haven't really changed the funding as a council to that package. So you're trying to do your best, similar to other big conversations we've had in the city, you're trying to do your best within existing resources, but through this work of better defining how you might provide support could also inform the next council as to maybe we want to adjust funding potentially up a little bit to allow for support to continue and to be expanded into new areas that maybe hasn't existed before. Is that a fair thought on this?
That's correct. We will start with the basis of trying to keep within our current budget to recognizing the financial situation that exists right now. And then we'll see through efficiencies, if we can deal with some of that. And that's one of the things that the auditor has talked about, being more efficient and more directive in our funding. So I think that will help lead us to some good solutions.
Perfect. Final question is, just as part of this engagement, is there an openness to maybe having some of those? Because again, there's this, what I feel to be a fear that exists from some centers that think the city just wants us to go away, which I have never got that impression, but it feels like we should try to tackle that up front so that people know we're not trying to get rid of you, but we also are trying to make sure other spots that are serving seniors are supported.
That's the messaging that we've been sharing, and we've been working with Sheila and the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council on that together, that we know there's different needs of different seniors, and we want to make sure there's an equitable system in our community that can support all seniors, whether it is accessing a center or getting supports for more isolated seniors.
Great. I'm out of time. I might have one more question. Sorry. Thank you.
All right. I see Councilor Banga has a few questions, so go ahead, Councilor Banga.
Thank you. Sorry to say this, when I was looking at this report, to me, it looked like there are lots of words. And what exactly are we saying? Like maybe I'm not getting it, or could somebody be able to tell me or explain it to me briefly? What we did, why we did, and what we plan on doing next.
Who's best to cover that one? Jackie, Judy?
I just turned my mic on. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. And Judy can jump in if need be. This conversation started quite some time ago before the pandemic, and we were to go into the community and talk to senior centers, senior service agencies, senior serving businesses, to talk about what kind of services do seniors need in our city. And while we were in those discussions, the pandemic came upon us, and the sector really came together to work together in a new and different way. And you can see from attachment 1 that now it's not necessarily just focused on an individual service or a site. It's actually around what are seniors looking for. And we're really happy that the model that we're working with is a true community development model, which is why Sheila's here today. We've worked with the Seniors Council for a long time, and now it's a point where it's at a point where that group can now start leading that senior center services. It's not necessarily just the city, it's not just the senior centers, it's not just not-for-profits, it's the entire sector working together. So it is the culmination, and we had to come back to tell you about it, the culmination of a community-driven community development model for senior agencies and services. As alluded to earlier, we're talking about funding as well. So when that discussion comes up, Sheila and her group and the whole senior serving sector will be more able to discuss in a different way how that funding could be spent. So does that answer your question, Councillor?
Yeah, it does. And then my next question is that you said senior sector really came together. What do you exactly mean by that? Like, when people were sitting in their, no senior centers were open, people were sitting in their own places away from each other. And so were we able to get, I guess, the desired or proper feedback from everybody involved?
I'll let Judy or Sheila maybe answer how that engagement happened during the pandemic.
Councillor, thanks for the question. The engagement happened a lot before the pandemic, the original engagement about the transition to a new model. But then the pandemic came, and we saw Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council, and I'll let Sheila speak to this, come together with community around this coordinated model. And it made us recognize that they were quite capable of leading this model, that it was more effective than the city leading a model. So I'll let Sheila tell you about what they did during that time, because it's pretty amazing and quite great work to support seniors in our community.
Thank you, Judy. Councillor Banga, when the pandemic was declared, we quickly had city representatives and SAGE seniors come together with the coordinating council to come up with a model that would look at what is the most critical services that we have to focus energy on. And we were able to get some task groups up and running, and around the provision of outreach services, friendly telephone calls. We had a task group on food and transportation and a task group on social programming. It brought together many organizations, and they were able to look at what each other was doing, learn about how to adapt services during the pandemic. For example, we would bring together executive directors. They would troubleshoot with each other, figuring out what are the health protocols, how do we keep going, how do we organize tax clinics, how do we deliver food, how do we keep volunteers driving. All of those sort of things were done in a coordinated way so that people could respond to the emerging needs.
Thank you. My time's up, but I do have a couple more questions, so come back for the second round.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll bounce back to Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few more questions. So on the funding piece, what I want to double check, and we've had a chance to chat about this a little in advance, but one of the things that I'll often hear from some of these smaller groups that are, they're often doing work in, a couple of communities. These are spots where they're often not close to any type of physical location, but the way we structure a lot of our funding is that, these have to be super organized and essentially well established. So in order to access funding, you need to be able to prove that you've been doing this for years and years and years. Which on paper makes sense, but if you're talking about some of these smaller groups that are serving, maybe a couple hundred seniors in the area, sometimes all they're looking for is $500 or $1,000 to let them, and they can go and multiply that by 5 or 10 times, but they can't necessarily prove their success up front. They almost have to be able to prove it after the fact to show, well, here's in fact how many people we were able to provide supports for. So when we think about funding going forward, are we looking at something like that in terms of a micro-style grant that allows us to almost provide support to, I'm going to call it the startup senior support groups or whatever we want to phrase it as?
Yes, I think that will be a consideration, Councillor, as we move forward. Right now, the program is solely focused on senior centers and only a particular number of them. So we really want to look at how do we open it up to be more responsive, as I was saying before, to make services, different kinds of services available throughout the city, not just having to go to senior centers. So I think this is a really great opportunity.
Great, and so I've reading through the next steps. I just want to get a sense of when another, is there another check-in point for us that's going? Is this part of sort of the reimagine work, and we'll see that as part of that, or what's the next time? Like, if we're going to change funding, I imagine council has to sign off on a different structure or something like that, or is that done internally? And when would we be seeing this next, if at all?
I think we would be bringing back for information how the funding would be changing and moving differently, and getting some feedback. We'd probably also, as part of that connection ahead of time, talk to councillors as well around their thoughts of it. So I think that it may be, again, with our resourcing and some other funding strategic work being done right now, this one is down the line a bit, but when it comes, it will come back for information so that you'll know what's going on.
Great, yeah, and I don't think we need to be giving the final okay, whatever you're doing is your approach, but it does give a chance that if by chance we felt that there needed to be some additional work or even maybe additional funding, that's a chance for us to understand how that's moving forward. Okay.
And just further to that, I think the timing is pretty opportune as well in terms of building it into the 23 to 26 four-year cycle. So
Great.
we can do this heavy lifting now, get it socialized with council, and then into that process then for any decisions made then if there is a potential increase for support for this sector.
Excellent. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I already know there's ongoing engagement with all those groups involved. So that would also give them a chance at that budget with the next council to speak at a public hearing of budget if they want to see more resources or different changes. So wonderful. I really appreciate all the work on this. I'll move the recommendation knowing that Councilor Banga still has a few more questions, but I'll get that on the floor.
Okay, so the item is moved. Councilor Banga, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My funding question has been asked already, so I don't need to ask that again. However, my next question is, what are the next steps that are going to be happening? And what is going to be the city's role in it? And who's going to be leading this next portion of work?
So, Councillor, for this community-led based model, the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council will take the lead in that work. That's part of their strategic business plan moving forward. And we fund them as a city to do that work. And then the city will be a partner, a stakeholder at the table. So we'll be there for whatever support that they need, and we'll be at the table, but they will take the lead. And as we have in the past, we'll continue to work with the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council really closely to make sure we meet the objectives we need to accomplish as a community for seniors.
Okay. So I know this is, again, this question may be overlapping with Councillor Knack's question. There are groups of seniors who are not organized like some of the senior centers folks, and they're a group of people that they want to somehow, again, start up something in their community. However, they basically don't know how to start it. So what would be the advice for them?
Councillor Banga, I think the advice would be for them to touch base with either the Edmonton Seniors Coordinating Council or someone from our area in social development, and we can help guide them the best way they can. That's a great thing about reviewing this grant program moving forward. We'll be able to create some opportunities for different kind of groups to do some different things. And I think by them checking in with us too, we can see if the work that they want to do fits in with another granting program that already exists that they might not be aware of.
All right, fair enough, thanks.
All right, thank you, Councillor Banga, and thank you, administration, for that report. It has been moved. There's no debate. Please vote. And I didn't ask Councillor Knack if you wanted to speak to it, but I'm assuming you
No, thank you. Appreciate that, but no, thank you.
And we're just missing a few votes. Councillor Paquette.
Yeah, I've got the spinning wheel of time. I am a yes.
Councillor Zadek.
Yep.
And Councillor Knack. We have all the votes. Thank you.
Please display the vote.
The vote was unanimous in favor.
Great. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 6.3, expanded uses of Horlick Park. We've got two speakers, and I'll just check in with administration if you have any opening remarks before we move to our speakers.
We do have a quick opening remarks if we can.
Yeah, please.
So, good morning, committee. I'm Pascal Douceur, I'm the branch manager of infrastructure planning and design. I'm joined today by Shannon Fitzsimmons from my team, as well as Rhonda Norman and Roger Jevney from Community and Rec Facilities. Since Horlick Park's opening in 1967, the lake has provided Edmontonians with a way to experience nature in the middle of the city. While we call this body of water in Horlick Park a lake, it is technically a constructed water body that serves as a drainage basin and a source of irrigation for the park. Unlike a lake, it is shallow. It's only 1.5 meters deep and doesn't have any groundwater connection. As a result, it tends to accumulate sediments and nutrients quickly and is subject to excessive algae growth. Expanded use of the lake has been contemplated since the hosting of the first International Triathlon Union race in 2001, and numerous council reports and studies have been completed to inform the potential for in-the-water experiences. Based on these investigations, it was determined that making the lake swimmable was cost prohibitive, and the alternative water play feature was proposed, away from the lake location. This latest study aimed at improving the water quality based on an ecological and holistic approach to manage the root causes, mainly the geese population. Canada geese are protected under the Migratory Birds Convention Act, and interventions are controlled federally and provide extremely limited opportunities for population management. With that understanding, we focused on determining improvements that can be made to allow on-the-water activities, which is limited contact with the water, such as paddleboarding and kayaking. And so the recommended best management practices will be further evaluated and defined through the design development phase of the park rehabilitation project, and they will be included as part of a funding request to support growth elements and the associated operational impacts of capital for consideration in the 2023 and 2026 capital budget. We thank you and will be pleased to answer any questions after the speakers.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving to speakers, we've got Stephen Bordeaux up first. Are you with us, Stephen? There you are.
I am, yes. Yep.
Okay. Would you prefer Steve?
Sure, Steve.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Well, if you have spoken committee before, so you understand you got 5 minutes, and then councillors may have questions for you afterwards. All right, so go ahead. The floor is yours.
Sounds good. Thank you, and good morning, councillors and committee members and staff. I do have Sheila O'Kelly here with me to answer questions. She won't be speaking, but she'll be available for questions afterwards. So thank you very much for the time today. My name is Stephen Bordeaux. I'm the General Manager for World Triathlon Series Edmonton, and Sheila O'Kelly, the event founder, and Edmonton's Sports Hall of Famers here with me. So as you are very familiar, our organization has been hosting international triathlons in Horlick Park for over 20 years. And we're very committed towards hosting a safe and memorable Triathlon World Championships this August. We very much appreciate our involvement in the ongoing discussions with City around this report and the expanded use of Horlick Lake. We, of course, are very familiar with this body of water, since 1999. And we, every summer, undertake a very comprehensive water management program to allow athletes and swimmers to access the lake. We work closely with City of Edmonton staff, Alberta Health Services, Canada Health, EPCOR, and several other government and civic agencies to implement our program. And the strong health of Horlick Lake is paramount to our organization and the success of our annual event, which engages thousands of Edmontonians and brings even thousands more to our city. We've been on this Horlick Lake journey since 1999, as you can imagine. And since then, several studies have been done on the lake and how it can be improved to allow all Edmontonians the same level of access our participants enjoy. Everything's been explored, from deepening the lake, regular dredgings, liners, aeration systems, filtration systems, plantings, waterfowl management, barriers. And typically, it comes down to dollars, which is a very important consideration. We've known for a long time, and we've been vocal for a long time, that the lake has greater potential beyond its current use. And with smart investment, it can provide a very wonderful experience for Edmontonians and the public, and provide many more active living opportunities for various organizations. A usable natural body of water within the city limits would certainly be a welcome amenity for Edmontonians, and I think everyone would agree it would be extremely well used and provide an even further opportunity for sport, recreation, and even future event hosting. Access to Horlick Lake for paddleboarding, kayaking, wading, swimming would enhance our community enjoyment and provide another opportunity for Edmontonians to get out and get active. The recent study that was undertaken by administration communicates well the factors that we know have the negative impacts on water quality of Horlick Lake. As one of the primary users of the lake, we've been actively engaged by administration throughout this whole process, and we're very thankful for that. And the mitigation strategies that are outlined in the report we're fully supportive of, because anything that improves the water quality supports our and the community's sustainability goals. We've had our own partners that have been on this journey with us for 20 years with expertise in stormwater management and lake management from the international governing body, as well as local engineering firms, have reviewed the report and all agree that the recommendations are a great step in the right direction. So really with that, I'm here today on behalf of the Board of Directors of World Triathlon Edmonton to fully support this initiative. Whether that's through guidance, knowledge, experience, connection, resources, or, literally rolling up our sleeves and getting our hands dirty down in the lake. We think this is an amazing initiative for the community, and we want to do our part, and we're prepared to do our part. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And you indicated that Sheila was not going to present, but is available for questions. Okay, so we've got a question from Councilor Henderson.
Yeah, so just to confirm, understanding that, to get the lake to swimmable on a permanent basis probably is prohibitive. But, this much lower cost way of at least improving the quality so it can be used for more than just looking at will also help in those times when you need to bring it up to swimmable quality for a short period of time, correct?
That's our understanding, correct. As everyone's quite familiar with, it's quite an extensive process we undertake every year to get the lake up to swimmable contact. So this is a great step. This would probably get us 85, 90% of the way there.
So that's not going to go away. And doing it so that you could swim there year round, probably, I think we know is probably a non-starter, or it's a very expensive non-starter. But this would allow it to be used far more regularly for other things and would help you for that week a year where you need to get it up to a different standard, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great, thanks. Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Henderson. And Councilor Knapp, go ahead.
Thank you, and thanks for your presentation today. I did just want to jump off Councilor Henderson's question a little bit. Unfortunately, we were hoping to have two folks here today who had spoken at a previous meeting who have some of that sort of scientific background. And so I guess I just wanted to check with you in terms of the people that you've connected with over the years. What I have heard from those who presented at a previous meeting, and we've touched base since this report came out, is that they're still of the impression that the in-the-water solution is actually far cheaper than we've suggested. And I'm curious if you have had any conversations or experience with any experts who either would verify that or who would counter that.
Yeah, I'll give my perception, and then I think Sheila's perception would be really good, because Sheila's been around since 1999, has been involved in the previous studies and the budgets and such. So from my perspective, I think the number that's been floated around in the past has been about $60 million, which I feel is too high. Just from my personal experience with other urban city lakes and other technologies that are being used for a lot of these events in Europe and Asia, there's a lot of very creative, innovative solutions that have been adopted by these communities. That's very different than permanent infrastructure in the lake, and completely tearing the lake down to the ground and rebuilding it. And I think some of those are worth looking at. For sure. I can't speak to whether they have been looked at with administration, but I think my personal opinion and experience from this is that there's innovative solutions that are out there that need to be explored.
Great. And maybe I will check if Sheila has any follow-up comments to that. or not.
I see she's there.
So I'll assume silence means no additional feedback. If you feel otherwise, blink twice or so. I don't see you on camera, so I don't actually know where. But that's okay. That's good. I'm going to ask a bit more about that because I am hearing the same thing fairly consistently from different people, and it feels like there's I'm not sure where the disconnect is, and I want to figure out where that is. So thank you for that additional feedback. Those are all my questions.
No problem. Sheila just sent me a text. She seems to be muted and she can't unmute herself, but she would like to add comment.
Oh, she would. Okay.
The clerk might be able to unmute her.
I'd love to get her comments as well with somebody who's been around for a while.
Try *6 to unmute. We aren't able to unmute you on our end, but *6 generally works on the phone.
Since we've got a fairly short agenda, I'm okay to wait a little bit just because I'd love to get her perspective, knowing that we couldn't get the others here today. Unfortunately, the calendar didn't align for them.
So *6 is the pattern to unmute.
She mentioned she's trying it and it doesn't seem to be working. So just following up to my sort of comment around sort of our offer to help is, we are connected to a very sort of wider network of sports and organizing bodies around the world that have, similar water quality issues with their bodies of water that they use, because for the most part, World Triathlon events happen within urban settings and downtown cores. And so I've heard specifically around some strategies used in England that involve essentially giant fish filters that are placed into the water and filtrate the water system in that sort of scenario.
So thank you. So maybe in my last 30 seconds, because I'm guessing it doesn't sound like we'll get Sheila unmuted, but that's okay. So my final question is, being that you have access to some of these experts as well, pending my questions of similar nature to administration, is there openness or willingness to try to connect city staff to some of these resources? Because I feel like there's some conversations that still need to happen, to your point around those innovative conversations. So you're willing to make that connection to help see if this can happen?
Yes, of course. And we have already, we've been very engaged in the process by Rob's team, Pascal's team up to this point. So we provided those connections and learnings that we can. So we're more than happy to continue that work.
Great. Okay. Well, I'll leave it there and then I'll go in to ask administration afterwards. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bordeaux. And I don't see any other questions for you. So we will move on to questions of administration. And not seeing anyone else on the board besides Councilor Knack. So go ahead, Councilor Knack. And you just muted yourself.
Oh, sorry, I did mute myself. Thank you. I would be fine with deferring to Councilor Henderson first as the ward councilor if he has any questions. And I can come back on.
Well, I think I have the answer to my question already. I mean, and thank you for this work. I mean, if there are ways, and I guess to preempt, I suppose the question that Councilor Paquette's Councilor Knack's likely to ask is that if there are some things we can look at between now and then, that's still in play or could be added later, correct? To further improve, if technologies continue to improve in an affordable way, it's possible to continue to look at that as we go forward. This isn't just some signed and done deal at this point, correct?
That's correct, Councillor Henderson. We will continue the design, but our understanding of the ability to reach the level of in the water is that it is at this time cost prohibitive, but we will continue to work with our team of consulting and experts to investigate those opportunities. Please.
Sorry. Yeah, keep on going.
Well, I was just we do have our consultants, who's Kim Chapman from Resource Environmental Solutions on the line, and so he would be able to speak to the technologies and innovative solutions that we did investigate in the preparation of this report.
Okay, well, I'll maybe leave that for Councillor Knack, because I suspect he's going to ask those questions. For me, my major concern, I think you've already answered, is as it stands right now, it's obviously up to the next council at budget time. But, in response to the original inquiry, which was what could we do to at least get, in terms of how we deal with the lake, to at least get it to the point where people can actually put a toe in it without us stopping them. That will come forward to the next council, correct? And we're fairly confident we can do that, and as long as council funds it, and it's not a huge bill to do that, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And that'll be part of the package that comes forward at this point, unless we tell you otherwise.
That's correct. It would be part of the larger rehabilitation project.
Great. Well, thank you very much. That was the thing. I just didn't want to lose that opportunity as you guys did this work. So I appreciate that, and I wanted to just thank you for that work so that we don't lose this opportunity. So I will defer to Councillor Knack to ask the more detailed technical questions.
All right. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Go ahead, Councillor Knack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so I guess, and I don't really think I'm probably the right one to ask the technical questions, in the sense that this isn't my area of expertise, but I do want to relay that, our speakers that we had last time, who have a background in this, who are experts in this, were hoping to be here today to speak to it, but we couldn't align timing. And they did send follow-up comments, and their perspective, number one, I guess, is that they were a little surprised, because I feel like I even mentioned it during the conversation when we were in our closing comments, that there was going to be a reach out to those folks to engage them, to actually talk to them, because they have that expertise. But maybe that wasn't made perfectly clear by me, so I'll put the blame on myself, and maybe I didn't state it as the way I should have. But I have heard now from different folks who have this expertise that there really feels like a disconnect, and the report doesn't tell me a lot right now, and so they couldn't provide a detailed analysis. So I'm just wondering, is there any reason why we couldn't have our consultant, who is obviously also an expert, I'm sure, in this area, has that specialty, to sit down with all of these other folks who have said, we think there's a very simple way of doing this that's far more cost effective, that doesn't involve large capital investment. Can we get them all into a room just to talk it through? Because I'm feeling like that's a missing step, and I'd hate to miss this opportunity.
Thank you, Councillor Knack. We did, so the process that we followed to respond to the motion was related to trying to get to the bottom of what is the cause of the sediments and our phosphorus waters, so that we could look at our best practices with the support of our consulting, consultant specialists. And so in this case, with the causes being really related to the geese population, we didn't necessarily explore or do more exploration that already been done that would be related to deepening the lake, adding a filtration system, and all of these that had been presented previously as part of the original investigations, and that came back with that $60 million estimate to make the lake swimmable. We could certainly continue to engage, as was asked by Councilor Henderson, in the future phases to see if there are additional steps that could be included as part of the design and the next phase. But if you allow me, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Chapman to maybe answer some of the questions around maybe his knowledge of these innovative technologies and the limitations that we have.
Yeah, and feel free to go into a bit of detail. I'm going to be sure to share this meeting with those folks too, so they could listen. So while I might not understand a word that you're about to say with your expertise, I just want to make sure that those that have reached out to me have a chance to hear this, since they couldn't join us today.
Mr. Chapman?
Thank you very much. Good morning, council members. Pleased to be here. Thank you so much. Can you hear and see me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Beautiful, beautiful. So as the staff member says, the goose population is in fact the greatest continuous contributor of phosphorus to the lake over the course of the growing season. 1 month's contribution, as we modeled it, would be enough to increase the likelihood of having an algae bloom in the lake. And I want to separate the issue of algae from bacteria. We're just talking about algae at the moment. Bacteria is a separate issue related to also to geese. But the chief problem with algae blooms in the lake is that since 2015, it has not just been green algae, which can make the lake green and a little unpleasant to be in and near, but rather it's the blue-green algae, which is actually a form of bacteria. It's cyanobacteria. That's the bacteria that when you hear people get sick from an algae bloom, it's those cyanobacteria that are causing it. And since 2015, you have had cyanobacteria blooms in the lake. And once it gets started, they have overwintering spores that are in the sediment so that they'll come back in subsequent years if the phosphorus concentrations get high enough and the water gets warm enough. So that's the trigger for these blooms. And so the ITU and the staff are managing the lake primarily for cyanobacteria, but in addition to that, the Enterococcus bacteria and the E. coli bacteria, which are contributed solely by waterfowl, it's another standard that has to be met before the race can occur. So that's the foundation. There are other sources besides the sediment itself on the bottom of the lake. In other similar lakes, that sediment accumulates dissolved phosphorus over the winter due to bacterial activity. And then when the ice melts, there is a pulse of phosphorus that enters the water, which then stimulates algae blooms. In addition to that, to top off the lake, phosphorus comes into the lake from Saskatchewan River water when that's pumped to top off the lake, especially if that's done early when the river's running high and there's a lot of phosphorus in the lake. And then the other major source is runoff from the land itself. But between the geese and the sediment off-gassing of dissolved phosphorus, you've got about 90% of the phosphorus load that happens to the lake. And that level of phosphorus loading increases the chances of an algae bloom when the water warms up. So that's the setting. The BMPs that come out of this, of course, are manage the goose population. Another one would be deal with the sediment so that we do not have off-gassing of that dissolved sediment. And that's where the dredging came in. Originally, it was thought that we'd just take the sediment off, but there was a conversation around, well, if we deepen the lake, we could have a dive entry for the ITU. So that's the extent of that conversation. Surface runoff, you're already applying low phosphorus fertilizers. There's not a lot that comes in that's a significantly smaller amount. And then river pumping to top off the lake to get it deep enough so that you can have the race. That in the month where the pumping occurs can really cause a tipping point to be reached in phosphorus concentrations. And so that's why timing that topping off of the lake would be a great boon to keeping phosphorus loading in the lake down. So you time that to pump when the phosphorus levels in the river are low. So that's the setup. And so what we are faced with here is if we implement the best practices, and we are still, those are still being finalized. But if we implement the goose control, pump at the correct time, don't use high phosphorus fertilizers on the lawn, and deal with that sediment off-gassing in spring, we will have much greater control of phosphorus inputs to the lake. And if we reduce the phosphorus inputs to the lake sufficiently, we will greatly reduce the chance of a cyanobacteria bloom at the time when the race occurs. So at that point, then the scientists step back and the policymakers begin to get their decision making into the process. And even though we know that we will be reducing the cyanobacteria.
Chapman, I am so sorry to interrupt you, but we're about 4 minutes over the 5-minute mark. So we're going to that was fascinating. I have trouble enough keeping an aquarium going. So
sorry, Mr. Chair. I'll come back around because I might have a little bit more, although Councilor Carmel.
Maybe more questions for you, but just in the interest of
sorry,
Councilor Cartmel here, who's been waiting with a question.
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead, Councilor Cartmel.
Thank you, Councilor Burkett. Thank you, Mr. Chapman, for the remarks you've offered so far. Just listening to you speak, it seems an emphasis on reduction of phosphorus, and as I understand it, as a bit of a feedstock. Can you comment a little bit on aeration and the opportunity to provide aeration that would, I guess, not necessarily, as I understand it anyway, and I'm sure you'll correct me, it doesn't necessarily reduce the feedstock, but it does reduce algae blooms, or helps treat algae blooms through aerobic digestion. And as I understand it, aeration can be as simple as adding a couple of floating pumps or to the lake to essentially shoot the water into the air. Can you comment on that, please?
Yes, Councilman. We have looked at the various ways of agitating water, bubblers, fountains, aerators, and the general concept is this: mixing the water from low phosphorus concentration areas of the lake with higher concentration areas of the lake to get the concentration of phosphorus overall below the point at which algae blooms are stimulated. So that's the general principle. And you have quite a shallow lake, 1.3, 1.4 meters depth. The wind is enough to mix the lake. The top layers that get hot, they mix easily with the bottom slightly cooler layers. And because you probably have extremely small amounts, if any, groundwater entering the lake, you don't have that buffer of low phosphorus water to mix with either. So it is a fruitless exercise to try to agitate the water and achieve mixing as a result. That's my general opinion on this topic, given the circumstances of your lake being quite shallow.
Okay. Well, I know I'm out of my depth here a little bit. My understanding, though, is that rather than trying to limit phosphorus as a feedstock or as an algae initiator, that taking the algae into an oxygen-rich or an aerated-rich environment, in other words, shooting it into the air, essentially eliminates the blooms, allows and correct me if I'm wrong, allows the algae bits to get bigger to the point where they fall to the bottom of the lake and don't float on the lake. Is there anything to that sort of rather generalized idea?
Councilman, I'm not aware of that mechanism in my reading. Oxygen levels in the lake, I cannot recall if the water quality sampling included those, but I would assume that they are sufficient for life. And I do not think there's a connection between the algae getting rid of algae and the amount of oxygen in the lake as it stands right now. So I'm not familiar with this idea that the fountains somehow reduce the amount of algae by adding oxygen to the lake water. That doesn't seem like something that mechanistically relates to how the growth of algae occur in the lake.
And I appreciate that. That could be completely my misunderstanding of the technology and the science behind it. However, as the people that have been in touch with Councilor Knack have shared an email with me as well, and that my understanding of the reading of that email and of my background seems to indicate that there's something to that. So perhaps, to Councilor Knack's point, perhaps we can get experts with those varying perspectives in a room and perhaps come to a common understanding of those different scientific methods and approaches.
Yeah, Councillor Cartmel, is certainly something that we can do in the next steps of the project.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chapman, for your comments today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Cartmel. There are no shallow questions. Councillor Knack, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first, just the awkwardness of Ms. O'Kelly has managed to secure herself a platform that can work. And I know we've moved on to questions of admin. This is out of the ordinary, but recognizing our short agenda today and the fact that we'll be finished before lunch, is there an opportunity to have her respond to the question that I had asked? Sorry, Ms. Okay, I'll have to ask permission of the chair, and I imagine he'll have to make a ruling if that's permitted. Sorry, Mr. Chair, is that something you would be willing to entertain?
Yeah, absolutely. I see her on the board. Looks like she wants to say something, but
Yes, I'm here.
I don't hear any objections to that, Councillor Knack, and so let's go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Councillor Knack. Just from a historical perspective, we started using the lake in 1999. We did not have any algae problems until 2015. It was an exceptionally warm summer, and that was the reason we were given for that. But we've had problems with swimmer's itch, and that's what we were managing up until that. The sediment was first removed in 1999, and it made a big difference to the lake, but we still had to continue doing chlorination because of the swimmer's itch, which is a different problem from the blue-green algae. We did the second sediment removal in 2013, leading into the 2014 grand final. That sediment has not been touched since then. So that's the historical perspective. And going back to Councillor Knack's earlier question, when this was before council before, there was an expert there who spoke about a biological system for treating the lake. So I guess further to his question, I question, was that followed up with that particular, because as I understand, and again, I have absolutely no background in this, as I understand, it is a relatively new system for treating lakes, and they have done it successfully elsewhere, and for a fraction of the cost. Going back to the 60 million, I believe that that was done after our 2001 event. I think it was ordered by Mayor Mandel at the time. And it was a shocking figure then. And at that time, too, Summerside Lake was built, and it cost something like 5 million. So I've always questioned the 60 million. Again, not based on anything that I know, but just questioned it. So I think it's erroneous to use that figure now because it is so long ago since that estimate was done. And with the advancement of technology and everything else, I think that that's, as I say, irrelevant using that. So the question is about the biological system that was presented at council.
Thank you for that. So, Mr. Chair, I still have a minute 30, so I'll just jump back to questions of admin and asking about that particular piece, because that was also my understanding of the biological solutions. And again, I'm completely out of my element here, but I just want to make sure, and sorry, forgive my persistence on this, because I want to make sure that if there are folks who are based here in Edmonton, based in Alberta, who do this work every day, who have maybe a different perspective from Mr. Chapman, who obviously is also an expert, I'd hate to miss this. So I guess maybe the more general question, instead of asking the specifics, because the answer will probably go over my head, is, so in advance of the next council's decision, do we have a commitment that these experts, both the ones who were at previous committee meetings, the ones that Ms. O'Kelly and Mr. Bordeaux have identified, that we can just make sure they're connected together to just talk through some of this? Because like I said, I just don't want to miss this chance to do anything. And I've heard there's a lot of potential, and maybe they're all wrong, but I'm no expert and I don't want to see that chance missed. So is that something I've heard that is committed to here?
So, Councillor Knack, absolutely, we are committed to doing more review of those technology. My understanding from the team is that we did review the technologies. They are to address the symptoms, and what we reviewed and came back to council in this report is really to address the cause. And so what we could be looking at is a staged approach, where the recommendations of the best management practices that we have highlighted in the report is a place to start, and then doing some further engagement with those experts could bring additional steps that could be taken, and we will review that in the next phase of the project.
Okay, I'm out of time. I might have one last question. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We'll move on to Councilor Henderson.
Yeah, I'm just remembering, and maybe somebody can confirm this for me. My memory of the conversation that we had when we originally put the motion forward to look at this was that we didn't have the data, and the people that we're talking about needed that data. They needed to actually have a look at that data in order to know. So it sounds like, thank you very much. We have a lot of the data now about the causal piece. And I'm wondering if the missing step here for them is being able to understand what that data is and then being able to respond to that. Because I don't remember them saying, I can definitely do this. I remember them saying, I think we can do this, but we need to understand more about what's causing it, which is, thank you very much, the stuff that we now know now really well. So as a kind of next step, I'm wondering if that's a missing piece of the puzzle that would still be worth exploring, now that we have all that information on the causal piece and what's actually in the lake and what's going on, and allowing them to respond to that. So thoughts about that?
Yes, that could definitely be part of, as I was mentioning, their next phase of engagement. Now that we know the causes, we can talk about some additional steps that could be taken with those technologies.
And my memory is they'll know whether or not some of the things they've done elsewhere apply in this circumstance or not. They may not. I mean, this lake is not like other lakes. It's completely artificial, and it was designed for a different purpose, which it sounds like, ironically, we're not using it for. It was designed to take the drainage out of the, well, I guess we're still getting overland drainage. What we're not getting is subsurface water table going into the lake. That's what it's not doing, correct?
Yeah, it was not designed for sub-table. It was really designed just as an ornamental pond and getting the runoffs from the park.
And to take the surface drainage off the park. Great. Correct. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. And back to Councillor Knack. Go ahead.
Thank you for your patience, committee. Just a few more questions. Just being that you keep mentioning the next design phase, so can you just walk me through what is that next phase of work, when it starts?
So as part of the larger rehabilitation project, we have reached schematic design, and so we are moving into development design that will bring us closer to checkpoint 3 in advance of 23 to 26 budget consideration.
So what you're talking about is this next phase of work over the next sort of year and a half in advance. So we're in that phase. Okay, that was helpful. Sorry, I just wanted to double check. And I want to ask Councillor Henderson's question just a little more specifically. Is there any reason why we would be unable to or unwilling to, as a city, share that causal data with the experts that Mr. Bordeaux and Ms. O'Kelly have access to, as well as a couple of the other speakers? Is there anything that would prevent us from sharing that actual study so they can see it and to Councillor Henderson's point, provide that analysis and their expertise to say, oh yeah, here's why, and it makes perfect sense, or hey, this is something new that maybe they hadn't thought about?
No, I don't see anything that would prevent us from doing that. We would probably do it in the format where we can engage with our experts that can comment on their work. Exactly.
Of course, yeah, I would expect nothing less. I just wanted to make sure that was clear, so I saw them see that as well, and I just wanted to, again, I'm sorry to be real stubborn on this. I just wanted to be sure, and being that I'm not an expert, I'm asking for based on the other advice I've had. So thank you. Those are all my questions. Finally, I will move the recommendation.
All right, so the recommendation has been moved. I'll just see if there are any other councillors who would like to ask any questions. Not seeing any. Would anyone like to speak to this item? No? Okay. Because we have 5 minutes if you do. No? Okay, please vote.
I've spoken enough.
Yes.
We have all the votes.
Please display the vote. And that has carried unanimously. Okay, on to our final item of the day, item 6.4, the Baldwin, Belvedere, and Inglewood Financial Outlook. And I understand there may be an introduction from administration.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair, we do have some initial overview comments on this report. This is our delegation for this item 6.4 this morning. David Aiken, our branch manager from Community Standards and Neighborhoods, and from David's branch, we have Chantel Shannon and Deanne Patsula. And Craig Wobman, I believe, is on the call, our branch manager from IIS, from the Building Great Neighborhoods program. So in late 2018, City Council approved Inglewood and Baldwin Belvedere as the two newest revitalization areas. The selection was based on two factors. One, social vulnerability indicators, and two, the opportunity to leverage revitalization capital with other concurrent city investments. Administration's 2019 to 2022 capital budget request was $25 million for these two neighborhood revitalization initiatives. This was consistent with capital funding approved for other recent revitalization areas. For example, the Macaulay and Central McDougall Queen Mary Park revitalization initiatives received approximately $12 million each. As part of the 2019 to 2022 budget, City Council approved a lesser amount of $13.4 million and directed administration to return with this report on the financial outlook for Baldwin, Belvedere, and Inglewood. Excuse me. As a reminder, revitalization is about mobilizing local community leadership and building social infrastructure as much as it is about building capital infrastructure. In both revitalization areas that we're talking about today, citizens and organizations participated in identifying the revitalization capital enhancements they believe are most needed in their community. Both communities have been very thoughtful in identifying the leveraging and investment opportunities in their neighborhoods. Participants have identified the investments they, as people that live, work, and recreate in those communities, believe will make their neighborhoods safer, more connected, more inviting for visitors and private investors, and more beautiful. This kind of community work takes time, and based on our experience with other revitalization areas, the capital work is expected to extend beyond the initial 2019 to 2022 capital budget cycle. Inglewood is more ready to leverage revitalization capital funding than Baldwin and Belvedere. This is because Inglewood residents were already engaged by building great neighborhoods for renewal. Because of this readiness factor, the majority of approved 2019 to 22 capital delivery funding was earmarked for Inglewood. Baldwin and Belvedere focuses on planning and design in the current cycle, and delivery will occur in the next budget cycle, 2023 to 2026. For the remainder of this capital cycle, $5.4 million of revitalization capital will be invested in growth projects in Inglewood that align with renewal. These enhancements include Linear Park, lighting, seating, and a plaza. John A. Norris Park, seating and a covered structure. And 124th Street, pedestrian lighting, heritage light poles, enhanced feature beautification, planters, hanging baskets, and banners. In Baldwin Belvedere, some funds have or will be spent on planning and small safety-related enhancements in the current budget cycle. However, leverage opportunities in Baldwin and Belvedere are more complex, and potential alignment will not be until the 2023 to 2026 capital cycle. These opportunities include the Fort Road widening, BIA renewal, and 132nd Avenue renewal. Baldwin and Belvedere 2020 public participation data was shared with the Fort Road widening project team for inclusion in their planning and design work. So currently, there's $5.8 million not allocated to specific projects in Inglewood. However, a number of additional projects have been identified through working with this community that will be progressing into design and possible delivery this budget cycle. Additional funds will be required next budget cycle to deliver on work in Baldwin Belvedere ongoing now, and Inglewood may have funding remaining for the consideration for use during 2023 to 2026. That concludes our overview. We can now go to questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I am on the board, so I'll ask a question. So what I understand from your presentation and from the report is that Inglewood has sort of already gone through all of the planning for the most part, and they've got a lot of turnkey projects kind of ready to go. Whereas in Baldwin and Belvedere, because you've got the Fort Road widening under the bridge, you've got the 66th Street overpass with the multi-use path going in, and we've also got the development of Station Point happening, all of them concurrently. It makes more sense to align these revitalization efforts with all of those, so we're not overlapping and undoing and causing a little bit of confusion with how this rolls out. Do I have that correct?
I think you've summarized that extremely well, Councillor. Mr. Aiken, do you want to weigh in on that? Any further details there?
I think you're exactly right, Councillor. It is about alignment, and as you suggested, that is the case.
Yeah, okay. So right now it's partitioned at, each area, Inglewood and Baldwin Belvedere, getting half the amount than other communities have received. And what this does is it allows those communities to actually get the full revitalization monies for the community on par with other communities. That's the gist of this.
Yes, and the second phase would be in the 2023 to 2026 cycle, where that would be into the capital budget for that process, yes.
Right. And what I'm assuming the risk is if we split this in half, and half goes to Inglewood right now, and half goes to Baldwin Belvedere right now, the risk is that future council might say, well, they got something, and that's good enough. And then both communities end up kind of being a little bit shortchanged, or at least the plans don't get to get their full fulfillment.
That's absolutely fair, Councillor. The challenge is the readiness piece as well, in terms of, as you said at the outset, aligning the other work that's happening in the corporation in the Belvedere part of town as well. There is certainly some risk there, but this program has been sort of established kind of at that level. So we would certainly move forward in terms of moving into the next cycle of capital budget planning. The risk, obviously, is the prioritization of what gets put in that capital budget. And then council would make that determination.
Okay. Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, because if we split it right now, that money that could be used to complete the Inglewood revitalization is just basically going to be sitting there for Baldwin Belvedere, because there is not actually an alignment on how to spend those monies quite yet.
That's correct, Councillor. I mean, certainly weigh in, David or Chantal, if you have anything to add, jump in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I would just add to it that the capital investments, because they are citizen identified and prioritized, we really need to wait until the citizens have finished doing that work and identified their priorities. So we will have that ready later this month, but the costing of those projects will take some time.
Okay, well, in that case, I think I have a subsequent here, but first of all, I want to see if there's anyone else on the board who might want to weigh in. I'm not seeing any. So I would move that one, that administration provide a report in Q1 of 2022 on progress of the Baldwin Belvedere Revitalization Community Development Strategy and proposed capital project scoping. And two, that administration prepare an unfunded capital profile for the Baldwin Belvedere revitalization based on the work completed by the end of 2022 and include it as part of the proposed 2023-2026 capital budget. And we're getting, let's see, we've got Councilor Zadok on the board to ask some questions. Go ahead, Councilor Zadok.
Oh, no, just in support of your motion, Mr. Chair, I think it's quite wise to get this work done and channeled specifically and to look at this gap here. So I'm just speaking in support of your motion. So I'll support it. Thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And if there's no further debate, I don't think I need to introduce. I think the questions sort of lay out the situation. And I personally believe that this is the wisest course of action. And it's the course of action that ensures that communities get equitably and equally funded, and that the work that we do actually makes sense. One of the biggest frustrations I hear from community is, you had this project go in, and then, a year later you have this project going in, which you had to tear this stuff up to do it, and on, and it's just not an efficient or useful application of funds. So, more effort. So that's sort of the gist of it. Just let's proceed in a common sense and frankly intelligent manner on this. So please vote.
Yes.
We have all the votes.
And display the vote. And that is unanimous. Thank you. And I will just check in to see if there are any notices of motion without customary notice.
Madam Clerk, do we have to receive for information?
No, we do not.
Thank you.
So I'm assuming no one, unless someone was desperately trying to press star 6, I believe it is. But otherwise, thank you very much, everyone, for your work this morning. You've got some spare change as far as time goes. Please use it wisely, or however you want to use it. And have a wonderful. Oh, go ahead, Councilor Zadok.
Well, put that change in the bank.
Good idea. Invest it. Oh no, I won't even say that.
For tonight.
I just want to take the opportunity to say, Councilor Henderson, with your couple of no votes that are coming through, I'm beginning to feel some camaraderie here.
We all say no something. All right. Well,